So today, we're going to dive into a paradox from an ancient text that sounds, well, just plain impossible. How can you be truly, completely free, but at the exact same time be enslaved to other people? Let's get into it.
All right, so here's the line that sparks this whole thing. It's from the biblical book of Galatians. First it says, "For freedom Christ has set us free," which sounds great. But then, in the very next breath, it says, "But through love become enslaved to one another." Wait, what? One second you're free, the next you're enslaved? I mean, that sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? How on earth does that work?
And that is the central mystery we're tackling. How can these two opposite states, freedom and slavery, be true at the same time? It feels impossible, right? But the answer is actually locked away inside the context of a really, really heated moment in history.
Yeah, to get our heads around this, we have to realize this wasn't some calm, philosophical essay written in a peaceful library, not even close. It was part of a furious letter sent to a community in a place called Galatia, which is in modern-day Turkey.
That's right. The guy who wrote it, the Apostle Paul, he was not in a good mood. One scholar put it perfectly, saying he was mad as hops with these people. Seriously, he calls them fools. He asks if they've been put under a spell. This isn't a gentle nudge, you know? It's a full-on intervention.
So what was all the fuss about? Why was he so angry? Well, this community was basically at war with itself, just tearing itself apart. The huge argument was about this. Did new converts, people who weren't born Jewish, have to follow all the old Jewish laws, especially something like circumcision, to really belong? And for Paul, this was a massive deal. He saw them throwing away their freedom and willingly putting on what he called a yoke of slavery to a bunch of rules.
Okay, so to really unpack what Paul is getting at here, there's a really helpful idea from a theologian named Walter Wink. He basically said Paul is describing two totally different ways of running the world. For our purposes, we're just going to call them the two systems.
So, let's break these down. On one hand, you've got the domination system. You could kind of think of this as the world's default mode, right? Leaders are on top, power is for the people at the top, and it's all about I win, you lose. But then you've got the servant system, and it's the total opposite. Everything gets turned upside down. Leaders are actually there to serve. The whole community looks out for each other. The goal isn't personal gain, it's what's best for everyone.
And this is where it gets really real. The whole point Paul is making is that you can't have it both ways. You have to pick one. There's no straddling the fence here. You simply cannot live in both the domination system and the servant system.
Okay, now this is where things get super interesting. To hammer this point home, Paul picks a word, and honestly, it's a shocking word choice. It's the linguistic key that unlocks this entire puzzle for us. You see, he had other options. There was a perfectly good, common Greek word for servant, diakonos. It's actually where we get our word deacon. It just meant someone who serves, maybe helps out at a dinner. It was the normal, respectable, easy-to-understand word to use, the safe choice. But Paul wasn't trying to be safe. He was trying to shake them awake. So he skips right over that common word and grabs something way more intense, a word that would have literally made everyone in the room stop and go, "Wait, what did he just say?" The word he chose was doulos, and doulos does not mean servant. It means slave. We're not talking about a hired worker or someone waiting tables. We're talking about someone who is completely and totally bound to a master whose entire life is about fulfilling that master's will. So, why in the world would he use such a loaded, almost unbearable word? Because he had to make a point they would never, ever forget. He was describing a commitment that was total, all in. This isn't about, helping your neighbor with their groceries. This is about being so completely bound to each other in love that you would do anything for the good of the group. It's a crazy idea, a radical, chosen slavery to one another.
Okay, so this is it. This is where all the pieces click into place. The angry letter, the two systems, that shocking word doulos, it all comes together to finally solve our paradox.
But first, let's be super clear about what this freedom is not. Paul is really emphatic here. Being set free is not a get-out-of-jail-free card to just do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's not freedom. For him, that's just a different kind of slavery, being a slave to your own whims and desires.
So here's how the logic works, step by step. Step 1, you are set free from something. The old way, the domination system with all its rules and power grabs. Step 2, now that you're free from that, you are free to make a real choice. And here's the mind-blowing part. Step 3, Paul's big idea is that the greatest, most powerful way to use your freedom is to choose to enter the servant system.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract idea from 2,000 years ago. We see this happen. Just think about someone like Rosa Parks. On that bus in 1955, she used her freedom to say no. She said no to the domination system that was telling her where she could sit and what she was worth. And in that no, she was saying yes to a different system, a system where everyone has dignity.
And there it is. The paradox is solved. Real freedom isn't about having no attachments or responsibilities. It's about having the power to choose your attachments. It's being set free from a system that oppresses so that you can willingly and freely bind yourself to others in love and service.
In the end, Paul boils this whole huge idea down to something so simple, but so powerful. He says, forget about trying to follow a million different rules. The whole thing, everything, is summed up right here. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. That's the engine that makes the entire servant system run.
So this letter from way back when ends up asking a question that is incredibly relevant for us right now. Look, the domination system is all around us. We see it at work, in the news, sometimes in our own hearts. But that other way, the servant system, it's always there as a choice, a real choice we can make every single day. So the question Paul was screaming at the Galatians is the exact same question for you and me. Which system are you choosing to live in?